Okay, so let's start the recording. So first of all, before starting the recording, I would like to first understand what is the setup. Okay, that is the very confusing part. See, this is my lavalier Boya mic we have connected through the port which is there. The headset port is there, through that I have connected that, and this is obviously for recording my voice, that lavalier mic, and this one is my Bluetooth headphones. As you can see, this is the yellow one, which is in a very bad condition. From this I'll be able to hear the sound which I'm going to play on this platform. So let's say, for example, if I'm playing one video of this guy, so I'll be able to hear that from my this earphones. Okay, that's it. Now let's start the course. Okay, so now actually we are into the third week of my course. The first week was obviously the cloud foundation. This was my first week. Okay, that is not there, that is remaining, I'll do that later. Okay, so now second week is about which was very important to understand that. So it was about cloud computing on AWS. So obviously the course overview was what all subjects are there. This is the outline of the course which we have studied. The core building blocks of any data center operations are compute or virtual machines, storage and networking. Pretty much all the IT components as we know it rides on these three pillars. What are the three pillars of any data center? Three pillars on which the data center, actually this is the one which we have in our IT department. So basically it's the virtual machines, obviously storage, the hard disks and the networking. These are very three important pillars of any data centers. Therefore the fitting start will look at these services from arguably the leader in terms of market cap, AWS, Amazon Web Services. We will look at the infrastructure as a services, EC2 nothing but elastic compute cloud, block and object based storage and VPC, which is cloud computing. In addition to these core services, we will also see how to deploy applications in highly resilient and redundant manner with auto scaling. Okay, so we'll see how to deploy applications in highly resilient and redundant manner. So redundancy is very important. If one of your machine fails, then automatically your network should switch to another backup machine. So that is what is called as redundancy. All these and much more will be discussed in this course. So he's asking us to watch the instructional videos to understand the core principle. Okay, so what I'm expected to learn in this particular module is AWS organization. So basically how does an AWS organization work, means what is regions, what is availability zones, what are edge locations. Then we'll look at the compute aspect. Compute means what is EC2, what is load balancers, what is AMI. I don't know the full form. It's just an overview I'm giving you. Then what is storage components, EBS, S3, EFS, volumes, snapshots. Then what are the networking components, VPC, NAT, Bastion host, Route 53. And then identity and the access management, users, roles and pins, policies and permissions. Then we have cost calculators. So what are the cost objectives? So after completing this course, you will be able to work with and use Amazon Web Services, become familiar with the terminologies and basic concepts of AWS platform. Understand various services offered by AWS public cloud platform. Get in-depth understanding of compute, storage, and network components of AWS, because these are very three important components: compute, storage, and network components of AWS. Understand how generic cloud computing concepts are implemented by AWS. Work with multiple hands-on lab sessions on AWS platforms, and we'll be able to create cloud cost projections using the AWS cost calculator. As technical information is continuously updated by AWS, please refer to the AWS documentation for the latest informations. So why demos are done with the Linux OS, not Windows? These are the common FAQs asked by the students. Go through them, then we'll go to the main thing, which is important. It is loading very slowly. I am you have to do it every single day. Tomorrow also I will do it. Tomorrow we'll do the recording aspects, so that yes, we will do it. Yes, we can do it. Come on, boy, I can do it. Move. So we were in the cloud computing AWS. So these are the guys sign up guide. Now let's move on to the learning materials. First one I have not prepared, so second module 1B we have prepared. So global cloud infrastructure refers to the physical computing and networking resources that deliver cloud services around the world. A cloud provider's global infrastructure is made up of data centers which are interconnected by a high-speed, reliable global network. These data centers are connected to different ISPs and carriers, allowing them to not only deliver the best performances but also provide the highest levels of redundancy and availability. The global infrastructure of cloud provider provides customers with reliable and secure cloud services no matter where they are located. According to Amazon, AWS has the concept of a region, which is a physical location around the world where we cluster data centers. Availability zone, AZ in short, is one or more discrete data centers with redundant power, networking, and connectivity in an AWS region. AWS local zones and Webless zones for telecommunication workloads and others options for providing low latency applications. So this is kind of an index for this particular module. So we'll go exactly in detail what this module is all about. I don't know why it is so slow. So this is what the module is about. So hello and welcome to this unit, where here we are going to look at the AWS global infrastructure. So basically how this infrastructure of a giant cloud provider AWS looks like. So let's take a look at this picture from AWS, okay, in which you can see various countries and blue dots and orange dots. So basically AWS are divided into, they have divided their entire infrastructure into regions. So this is one region is there, this is another region is there, this is another region is there. So we have one region is Northern California, Oregon, Ohio, Canada West, AWS GOV Cloud, US West, Central Canada. So we have the names as well. So in Mumbai, in India, we have two regions. One is Mumbai and another is Hyderabad. Okay, so the blue dot are the existing facilities while the orange dots are being built. So obviously they'll obviously over time the orange dots will become blue and the new orange dots will appear as the Amazon expands its global footprints. Therefore, to be honest, the color of these dots is irrelevant when we want to understand core principle of what region is. So by definition, a region is a group of data centers. It's a group of data centers. A data center is a gigantic building which has servers and many other components that customers can use to host their applications. So more on this later, we'll discuss in detail about this. And another important feature of a region is that they are designed to be isolated from each other. So why they are designed to be isolated from each other is to help in achieving the greatest possible fault tolerance and stability. So in case if one region is experiencing an outage or electricity shortage, it does not necessarily impact any other region. So to summarize, a region is nothing but a country or a city or even a state which has the infrastructure necessary to host customer applications. Okay, now having a look at the region, let's look at what is AZ. AZ is nothing but availability zone. So let's take another look concept of the availability zone. So basically, as you have seen in the previous image, that there were regions, and inside those regions there are availability zones are there. By definition, availability zone, or in short AZ, is one or more discrete data centers with redundant power networking and connectivity in AWS region. This is also data centers only. Now, how to build this one particular? So let's assume that we are the cloud providers and we want to make a data center, right? So how do we start? Let's the land, of course. So this is the image from which you can get the idea. We'll first look up the land which is environmentally friendly. The key is to pick a land which has low chances of natural disasters such as flooding, earthquakes, and so on. Now, in addition to, some locations can provide natural cooling, which obviously helps in lowering the cooling costs. So lands, while selecting the lands, we'll have to take the environmental factor. We also have to take whether there are the key here is to pick a land which has low chances. Pick a land which has low chances of natural disasters such as flooding and earthquakes and so on. Any kind of tornadoes, natural calamities. Okay, then the land is now identified. So this includes another layer is of the perimeter layer. The next layer is of perimeter layer. This includes the fencing. The security guards, CCTV cameras, to ensure only authorized persons have access to all of this. So this is a building to creating a secure layer to make sure that when customers deploys their applications or their data into an eventual data center, that's going to come up in this place, so it has to be really secure. So that's why this perimeter layer is also important. So once the perimeter is set up, the next is building. As you can imagine, these are huge. As you can expect, this layer, apart from the building itself, also includes support structures such as power backup, air ventilation system, electric system, firefighting equipments, among many others. And finally, in the buildings, we have the server, the last layer, that is of the server, and the storage and everything else needed to host our customers' applications and data. So whenever we refer to an availability zone, or AZ in short, we typically think about this layer. Okay, now let's dive deeper into this. Now let's zoom in to a specific region and put regional availability zone into single context. Let's pick this region. As you can see, region comprises of the multiple, region comprises of multiple available, that's correct, multiple availability zones. The region that he have selected is of California. I cannot see the image, I don't know why I'm not able to see it. So there is one image in which it is showing this this particular there, so it's no big deal. There is one region is there inside. There are multiple availability zones. As you can see over here, this one region is there. There are multiple availability zones are there inside it. So all the availability zone in the AWS are interconnected with high bandwidth, low latency networking equipments for fully redundant dedicated metro fiber, providing very high throughput, low latency among these availability zone. Basically, there is low latency is there. There is high bandwidth is high, latency is low, and redundancy is fully redundant is also there, and it is connected with the metro fiber, providing high throughput also. All the traffic between these availability zone is encrypted, so this is also very important. All the time they are encrypted to ensure that there is a security. I didn't know this. Encrypted to ensure that there is a security in the network performance. Obviously is enough to accomplish synchronous applications between availability zones if the application decides to make sure that the data is present in the multiple availability zone. So if understood, all the traffic between these availability zones are encrypted so that nobody can understand it or nobody can breach the security. So this is what makes the partitioning of your data, of your applications really simple, and this is the building block for building high availability applications. So if an application is partitioned across availability zone, companies are in better position to isolate and protect from issues such as perhaps power outage, maybe natural calamities, tornadoes. Now those can be pretty bad, right? So why AZs are separate is by 100. The first simple reason to avoid the availability zones are physically separated by meaningful distances. Meaningful distances such as 60 miles or 100 kilometers. Someone as a region has a multiple availability, gives customers the ability to operate production applications and databases that are secure, highly available, fault tolerant, and scalable than. In addition to this availability zone, customers can also choose local zones. Now these are like AZ, but happens to be in the close proximity of a location that has a large number of AWS customers. AWS local zone is enable local extend the AWS cloud network, low latency happening. It's I should record. AWS local zone are the type of the AWS infrastructure. AWS infrastructure deployment that place computer storage, database, and other services closer to a large population industry. So basically, in an area like Pune in India, there are a lot of large companies are there, where a lot of IT centers are there. So they have their kind of local zones are typical infrastructure deployment that place computer services, whereas other services closer to a large population, enabling the customers to deliver applications that require a single digit millisecond latency. So they single digit millisecond latency to their end users. So in other words, imagine if you are in a city and the local in the AWS availability zone also obviously in this case would be called as local zone is really close to that city. So you take advantage of single unit digit milli latency, and obviously you'll use. So there's something called as wavelength zone as well. So basically this is particularly used for telecommunication application.